Hello and welcome to the Babbling School Podcast. In this episode, we will be reading one of the most famous African legends, the story of the 13th century king of the Mali Empire named Sunjata. This story has been passed down to us via oral tradition by the storytellers of the Mande Nation, and the retelling I will be reading to you today is based on a modern adaptation by Justine and Ron Fantes. This episode will feature part 1 of 2 of the legend. Tune in to the next episode to hear the second half of the story. Before we get into the text, let's talk about some vocabulary you may find useful while listening. If you want to skip the vocabulary introduction, you may click on a timestamp in the description to get straight to the story. Prophecy means a prediction of what will happen in the future. For example, Macbeth received a prophecy from 3 witches about his kingdom. Prophecy. Prophecy. To disfigure. To hurt somebody's appearance. For example, after a childhood accident, she was left disfigured by burns on her face. disfigure, disfigure. Rage, intense anger. For example, the government's decision to raise taxes was met with public rage. rage, rage. To trample, to step on and crush. For example, when a fire broke out, some people were trampled by the panicking crowd. trample, trample. To sacrifice, to give something up for the sake of other goals. For example, she sacrificed her career in order to take care of her children. sacrifice, sacrifice. To have an ace up your sleeve is to have a secret advantage. For example, he had an ace up his sleeve, a friend in his competitor's company. ACE-SLEEVE, ace up your sleeve. To befall, to happen, usually in a negative context. For example, a tragic illness befell his young daughter. befall, befall. Resentful, angry or bitter at having been treated unfairly. For example, she was resentful about her husband's lack of support with household chores. resentful, resentful. To inherit, to receive something at the death of the previous owner. For example, Rockefeller inherited $1 million from a distant relative. inherit, inherit. Cripple, a disabled person or a person with a severe limitation of some kind. For example, he was an emotional cripple. He couldn't understand the feelings of others. cripple, cripple. Ancestor, someone in one's family who lived a long time before one. For example, I looked at my genealogical tree and it turns out that Martin Luther is one of my ancestors. ancestor, ancestor. To ridicule, to joke or make fun of something. For example, the other kids ridiculed him for not being able to play football. ridicule, ridicule. Alert, careful, vigilant, or watchful. For example, an alert police officer discovered a gun in the man's pocket. A-L-E-R-T, alert. Produce. Agricultural products, especially fruits and vegetables. For example, I go to the store every day to buy fresh produce. P-R-O-D-U-C-E, produce. The Story of King Sunjata, Part 1. To this day, at holidays and ceremonies like weddings or funerals, whole villages of the Mande nation gather to hear Sunjata's story. Stories such as Sunjata's are told by griots. A griot is a special kind of storyteller. Each important West African family had a griot to sing their praises. Sunjata came from a large family of leaders, the Keita clan. In a village near the Kokoro River, in the land now known as Mali, there lived the leader of the kingdom of Kanfara, a great Mansa, or king, named Nare. One day, a wandering hunter came to King Nare's court. The king asked him, "O stranger, why have you come before me?" The hunter replied, "I bring a prophecy." You see, the Mansa of the Do people had two sisters, Camisa and Sogolon. After their father's death, the three were supposed to rule the kingdom together, but the Mansa wouldn't share with his sisters for fear of the kingdom becoming divided. However, Camisa had an ace up her sleeve. Like many Mande women, she had secret magic powers. Enraged by her brother's disrespect, she turned herself into a raging buffalo. She stomped her hooves and ran with furious speed. Blinded by the dust and by her own rage, she trampled her own sister, Sogolon. Sogolon was left disabled, disfigured, and with no chance of finding a husband. Camisa was heartbroken and felt truly guilty for hurting their sister. She decided to sacrifice herself to undo the curse that had befallen Sogolon. She found two excellent hunters and instructed them on how to kill her in her magical buffalo form. Then she told them, "You must take my sister to Mansa Nare. When he marries Sogolon, she will give birth to a son who will become the Mansa of all the Mandan, the greatest king who ever was." Soon enough, the hunters managed to kill Camisa, and it was time for them to travel to Mansanare and bring him Sogolon to marry. One of the hunters ran ahead to make the announcement, and here he was, telling their story to Nare. Nare was unsure of whether to accept Sogolon as his wife, as he worried his other wives would be jealous of the new one. The wife prophesied to bear him the greatest Mansa. However, he quickly accepted the prophecy, as he knew no one could deny destiny. Nare soon married Sogolon. As expected, his other wives became jealous of her. Nare's first wife, Samsuma, was most resentful of them all, as she knew her own son would now have to compete to be named the heir to the kingdom. The other wives were more beautiful than Sogolon, but her ugliness didn't bother Nare. In Mande tradition, disfigurement was a mark of power. Soon enough, Sogolon became pregnant with Nare's child. According to some legends, her pregnancy was extremely long, lasting for as long as 7 years. Finally, a son was born, and they named him Sunjata, the Lion King. He ate more than other children his age, but moved very little. Soon, Nare and Sogolon had 2 other children who developed normally, but Sunjata remained helpless and disabled. Years later, Mansa Nare passed away. As Sunjata still couldn't talk or walk, Nare left the kingdom to his eldest son with Sansuma, Dankaran. Sansuma was happy to see that the prophecy appeared to have been false and laughed at Sunjata's disability. However, Nare didn't forget about Sunjata. As inheritance, he left him a young griot named Balafasake. Bala was a good griot, and he did his best to remind Sunjata of his heroic origins and of his obligation to fulfill a great destiny. However, Sunjata still couldn't walk or speak. Oftentimes he appeared to be asleep while Bala was singing. Mansa Dankaran and his mother Samsuma began thinking about taking Balafasake back as their own griot. One day, Bala was sitting with Sunjata and his mother Sogalon under a tree, singing Mansa Nare's praises. By this point, the entire village was laughing at Sunjata and at Bala for singing to a cripple. Sogalon saw this and was heartbroken to see her son being ridiculed. She started crying and said, "I can't take this anymore." Suddenly, Sogalon and Bala heard a voice saying, "You won't need to cry anymore, mother." It was Sunjata, suddenly alert, awake, and able to speak. Legend has it that his voice sounded exactly like that of his father, Mansa Nare. Despite being able to talk, however, Sunjata still couldn't walk, so he asked for a rod to lean on. He used his arms and the rod to pull himself up to a standing position. Finally, he stood with the power of his ancestors. At last, Balafasake had something new to sing praises about. The kingdom quickly learned of Sunjata's miraculous healing. Samsuma and her son Dankaran were furious. As they were scared of the prophecy coming true after all this time, they began planning to kill Sunjata. They knew Balafasake was a protector to the young warrior, so they decided to send him away as an ambassador to the kingdom of Soso. Balafasake knew that the king of Soso, Sumanguru, was a horrible tyrant and that he was being sent to his death, but he obeyed his king, bid farewell to Sunjata, and left for the kingdom of Soso. Samsuma knew that Sunjata could not be killed by ordinary means, as he was the son of the buffalo woman's sister. Because of this, she gathered 9 witches from throughout the kingdom to advise her on how to kill him. The witches told her, "Samsuma, we cannot kill him until he gets angry at us. We have to find a way to make him mad." First, Samsuma sent the witches to Sogalon's beloved garden, of which Sunjata took great care, to eat their fruit without permission. When Sunjata found them, they told him they were eating his produce because they were hungry. Instead of getting mad, though, Sunjata gladly shared with them, as his mother had taught him to share with the needy. The witches went back to Samsuma and told her they could not kill Sunjata, as his heart was pure. This is the end of part 1 of the story. Tune back in for the next episode to hear the ending. Goodbye.